This girl is about to have the worst night of her life, and she doesn't even see it coming. Julia, the daughter of a high-ranking Russian military officer, spends her school day talking about her late mother and how lonely she feels, even with her father around. Meanwhile, her teacher is busy explaining an upcoming astronomical event, a meteor shower set to light up the night sky. A nerd named Google, who clearly has a crush on Julia, keeps trying to help her answer questions in class, but she's not interested. After school, Julia asks her father, Colonel Valentin Lebedev, if she can watch the meteor shower, but he refuses, insisting it's not safe. She's not one to take no for an answer and calls her rebellious boyfriend, Artyom, nicknamed Tyoma, who convinces her to sneak out. After all, it's a once-in-a-lifetime event. Later, Tyoma picks her up, and they head to a rooftop where a crowd has already gathered for the show. Julia meets up with her best friend Svetlana, but before long she and Tyoma sneak off to have some fun at Svetlana's apartment, leaving her alone on the roof. Meanwhile, deep in space, an unidentified ship moves through the solar system until disaster strikes. A stray meteor crashes into it, sending the ship spiraling toward Earth at a terrifying speed. Julia has no idea that the night she thought would be unforgettable is about to become one she'll wish she could forget. The Russian military detects something strange on its radar, an unidentified object hurtling toward Earth at breakneck speed. When it doesn't respond or slow down, they do what any self-respecting defense force would do: they fire missiles at it. The impact forces the ship to lose speed, but it's still on a crash course, headed straight for the city. The consequences are immediate and catastrophic. Buildings crumble, streets collapse, and Svetlana's apartment is one of the first to be obliterated. Colonel Lebedev and Mikhail Polskin, a high-ranking official, approach the ship's wreckage with a team of armed soldiers, ready for anything. When they make first contact, they come face to face with an ancient alien species that clearly understands their presence but communicates in an unknown language. While some military leaders push for an all-out attack, Lebedev takes a different approach. He informs his superiors that an agreement has been reached. The aliens will be left alone to repair their ship as long as no one interferes. But not everyone agrees with this plan. And if history has taught us anything, it's that humans don't always play nice when visitors arrive unannounced. Julia wakes up to a nightmare. Her best friend is gone, the city is in ruins, and her father is leading the military operations surrounding the crash site. The news confirms what she already suspects: the aliens are being contained within a 1-kilometer quarantine zone, and the situation is far from over. After leaving the hospital, she mourns Svetlana's death before her father takes her home to stay with her grandmother. For the time being, school, in the midst of the chaos, is still in session. And the topic of the day is extraterrestrial life. While the teacher is excited about first contact, the students are less than thrilled. Many have lost friends and family, and frustration is mounting. The military isn't doing anything, at least not in the way they'd like. Julia is determined to take matters into her own hands. Julia secretly steals her father's gun and heads to Tyoma's hideout. There, she finds him and his gang preparing an online smear campaign against the aliens. But Julia wants more than just angry comments. She wants revenge. She convinces them to sneak into the quarantine zone, bypassing security through an old processing plant. Once inside, the group splits up. Tyoma and his friends explore a nearby building and stumble upon a strange alien object that seems to have crashed through the roof. Meanwhile, Julia ignores Tyoma's orders to stay put and heads to Svetlana's apartment. That's when things take an unexpected turn. An alien suddenly appears, startling her, but before she can react, it stops her from falling and even tries to communicate. Just as it seems things might not be as she thought, Tyoma and his crew arrive, guns blazing. They attack the creature, causing it to slip and plummet. And just as that first contact turns into a total disaster, Tyoma and his group waste no time approaching their target. That's when they make a startling discovery. The creature bleeds like a human. But the truth is even stranger. The alien they attacked was actually wearing an exoskeleton, and beneath the armor is something unexpected, a being that looks almost exactly like them. Julia sees the wounded alien but leaves it behind. The group makes off with the stolen armor and a mysterious alien device, all without raising suspicion. Later that night, sleep doesn't come easy for Julia. Unable to shake the feeling she's made a mistake, she returns to the quarantine zone. This time, she doesn't leave empty-handed. She rescues the alien and smuggles him out in her car. The next day, she seeks out Google, the one classmate who actually has medical aspirations. She tells him she owes the alien her life and needs his help. After examining the creature, Google determines its anatomy is unsettlingly similar to a human's, but it has lost too much blood. The only solution is a transfusion, and luckily, Julia is a perfect match. The gamble pays off. The alien regains consciousness, but before Julia can process what's happening, he grabs her wrist and transfers a strange metal bracelet to her. At first, she doesn't think much of it until she goes into the bathroom. The bracelet reacts, pulling water toward her and giving her the ability to control it. Meanwhile, the military has recovered the stolen alien suit and begun testing it. Colonel Lebedev quickly realizes this isn't just a piece of advanced tech. It has the same water-manipulating properties. But the real impact comes from an unexpected source. A nearby fisherman watches in disbelief as an entire body of water vanishes without a trace. Scientists make a shocking discovery. The spaceship isn't just sitting there. It's actively repairing itself by siphoning water. In fact, 30% of its external damage has already been repaired. Meanwhile, the alien finally wakes up. And if waking up on a strange planet wasn't impressive enough, he somehow speaks Russian. He introduces himself as Hakon and says he's looking for something called shilk. Without wasting time, he gets dressed and leaves, only to be picked up by patrol officers who take him to the station for questioning. Elsewhere, Teyoma and his crew are busy examining the exoskeleton they stole. It turns out to fit a human perfectly, and one of his friends accidentally activates it, sending the group into a panic. Teyoma decides it's best to hand the armor over to Colonel Lebedev, but the timing couldn't be worse. On the way, they get caught in the middle of a riot over water shortages. The situation spirals out of control. And in an ironic twist, Teyoma, who was just trying to calm things down, ends up getting arrested. Back at the station, Hakon's interrogation takes a strange turn. When the officers realize he has no fingerprints, things only get more complicated when Julia arrives, determined to bail him out. Unfortunately, Teyoma is in the same room, and let's just say he's not thrilled to see her siding with the alien. Julia has a new plan. Take Hakon directly to her father. On the way, Hakon reveals that without the shilk, he has no way to get home. But getting an audience with Colonel Lebedev isn't easy. Thinking on her feet, Julia fakes a pregnancy scare to force a meeting. It works. Her father receives her, but she's not there just to talk. While introducing Hakon, she secretly slips him her father's access card, handing it over before he kicks the alien out. Now armed with clearance, Hakon sneaks into the lab disguised as a scientist. He manages to retrieve the shilk from the alien artifact, but his cover doesn't last long. The scientists quickly realize he isn't Colonel Lebedev, and within moments alarms start blaring throughout the facility. Hakon somehow finds his way back to Julia, and before things escalate, Colonel Lebedev orders his men to take them home. Meanwhile, Teyoma is finally released, and wastes no time rallying his friends for a full-blown riot. They modify their inventory of cars with Molotov cocktails and arm themselves with baseball bats. With everything ready, he calls Julia, apologizing and begging her to join the movement, but she makes it clear she's with Hakon, not him. Hakon needs to return the shilk to the ship immediately. But with a heavy military presence around the crash site, they have to wait until midnight to even try. For now, Julia takes him home, where she introduces him to her sick dog. Without hesitation, Hakon places the shilk on the animal, and miraculously the dog is cured. It goes from being weak and frail to full of energy. Later, while they're having dinner, Julia sees the latest news on TV. Hakon is now a military fugitive. Just as she's processing this information, her father's convoy pulls up outside. There's no time to argue, no time to pack. They escape. As they flee, Hakon casually drops a warning. Smoking is bad for her health. Meanwhile, the anti-alien movement is gaining momentum. A viral video paints the aliens as a threat, claiming humanity must defend the Earth from these superior beings. It turns out, Teyoma and his crew are the ones pulling the strings, using social media to turn public fear into all-out outrage. Julia and Hakon make a quick stop at Google's house to borrow some clothes, and then head straight for a concert. One of the few places Colonel Lebedev wouldn't think to look. In the middle of the crowd, Hakon takes Julia's hand and gives her a glimpse of his home planet. He warns her that humans must stay away from the alien ship because if they get too close, Sol, the ship's AI, will destroy it to prevent its technology from falling into the wrong hands. Unfortunately, one of Tioma's friends spots them and wastes no time spreading the word. Fueled by jealousy, Tioma becomes enraged. After the concert, Julia hides Hikon and guides him through an abandoned building to get him back to the ship. Just as things seem to be falling into place, the moment takes a romantic turn. They share a kiss, and Julia finally admits how she feels. But their moment is cut short when Tioma and his gang ambush them. The group pounces on Hikon, beating him mercilessly. When Tioma slaps Julia, Hikon decides he's had enough. He effortlessly takes them down, showing just how outmatched they are. But things take a dark turn when one of Tioma's friends fires a gun only to hit their friend Ruslan. Panic sets in, and Tioma and his crew flee just as guards arrive. But Tioma, now consumed by grief and rage, refuses to take the blame. Instead, he twists the truth, spreading the lie that the alien killed his best friend. His fake news spreads like wildfire, igniting a mob fueled by anger and fear. Siding with the invaders, they chant, "If humanity wants to take back its planet, now is the time to act." The military holds its position, choosing defense over aggression. But Tioma's mob is out for blood. Chaos erupts as they break through the barricade, determined to reach the spaceship. Armed with a stolen exoskeleton, Tioma closes in, ready to turn the tide in his favor. Sensing the threat, the spaceship deploys its own alien defenders in advanced suits, who immediately change the battlefield. Meanwhile, at the military base, Julia confronts her father, revealing that Hikon isn't human. She refuses to back down, even threatening to take drastic measures if he doesn't listen to her. The real priority isn't war. It's getting Hikon back to his ship before it's too late. Wasting no time, she speeds toward the crash site with Hikon, but Tioma, now wielding the alien suit, intercepts them. He crashes into the car, knocking Julia unconscious, which forces Hikon into a fight he can't avoid. The battle is brutal, and Tioma gains the upper hand. Just when it seems Hikon has been defeated, Julia regains consciousness and rams the exoskeleton with the car, severing its arm and ejecting Tioma from the suit. Seeing his advantage slip away, Tioma grabs a rifle and fires mercilessly, killing both Julia and Hikon. Colonel Lebedev, witnessing his daughter's fall, immediately orders his men to arrest Tioma. The situation shifts as the aliens and the military finally find common ground, working together to save the wounded. Inside the ship, Julia and Hikon are placed in a healing pod. Lebedev interacts with the ship's artificial intelligence, Sol, and learns the truth. Earth is classified as a dangerously aggressive environment. Hikon, however, believes there is hope, choosing to observe humanity rather than fear it. Sol acknowledges Julia's role in proving that humans are capable of change and credits her love for Hikon as a sign of something greater. Moments later, Julia is revived and the spaceship prepares to depart, releasing its excess water as it ascends. In the final moments, Julia reflects on how a visitor from the stars believed in humanity's potential more than humans themselves did.